Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook, got Coach Dub, got Justin Wells. Gentlemen, it's finally June. Official visits for Texas have started. Who cares what other schools have done? Well, I take that back. We care what other schools have done. But it's time for Texas targets to head to Austin, head to the airport, start the drive, and see UT's campus. It should be a lot of fun to cover. We got some – this is kind of the first weekend. There are bigger weekends, but there are still some big targets to talk about. We'll be talking about them here all week and even during the weekend if anything goes down. So make sure you like this video if you're here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And, of course, head to InsideTexas.com. We're finishing up some of our coverage of Sunday's camp. Always good info. But that's a 2027, guys. Very valuable introduction. And we'll get to them a little bit later. But we got some 2026s to talk about. There are some important big humans making their way to the 40 acres this upcoming weekend. And the highest ranked one in the On3 industry ranking is Lamar Brown. He goes to high school basically on LSU's campus. That's where ULab is. But Charlie, we've seen a lot of different schools grab guys out of ULab, and Texas is going to get their chance to recruit the athlete Lamar Brown.
Yeah, definitely the athlete. It's so weird being on the LSU campus, like not being the main school, but that happens often out here with LSU. But hey, good for Texas. That's quite all right. Guy has a great relationship with Coach Alan Clark, man. Lamar Brown, you want to put him on offense, put him on offense. You want to put him on defense, he just absolutely destroys kids at the line of scrimmage, man. I can't wait for him to get to Austin so he can see what it's all about. I know he's excited. He's posted about it a few times on his Instagram story. Like, he can't wait to get to Austin. We're just as excited as he is. So I can't wait to hear how his visit goes and just continue to build a relationship with his staff going forward.
Justin, when we've talked a lot about the way that Texas really doesn't have to go outside the state lines if they hit everybody on the offensive line in state this year. But at the same time, Lamar Brown, number 7 overall prospect, number 1 player in Louisiana, one of those number busters types prospects that you wave into the class, welcome into the class, recruit hard into the class, and you figure out what he's going to be later.
Yeah, figure it out later. He is way too talented. And it's, we see guys play on both sides of the ball that are big kids that can excel. I remember watching DJ Campbell thinking he's as good at defensive tackle as he was at offensive tackle. And so, and that just shows you just the talent and their athleticism. Texas jumped into this recruitment super late. Like, this kid has been he's been around the country for well over a year, traveling side to side. But you know what? When that man from Louisiana gets involved, when Alan Clark jumps in, people start to take notice. And we have to understand that, Texas is going to – we told a lot of people this all year. Texas is going to shoot their shot with some of the top guys in the country. They have all the momentum in the world for 2026. They can cherry pick as much as they want in attempt to try to get some of those top guys. So they jumped into the Lamar Brown recruitment. Don't be surprised if Hayward Howard Jr. kind of helps out a little bit there. His father chimed in on one of our shows the other day and kind of mentioned that this is something that could happen and to be paying attention to it. And so this is just Texas, and we say this a lot, being thorough. Hey, you got a kid that's super, super talented. He's interested. Shoot your shot. Get him on campus. Have that OV. We know how Texas does official visits. They do these things big time. Right. Hey, get your shot at it. Try to take your chance. Hey, they haven't wasted many resources or anything with this thing. See where you stand with him, and then proceed from there.
I know y'all talked a little bit last week, or a lot of it last week, about Alan Clark and the job he's done for last week's recruiting intel. But Charlie, it's one of those things. You're always trying to find an in on any sort of recruitment, and if you've got a guy who's right there off of I-10 as well. Growing up, there's always something that's how you get in the foot in the door, and then you see what's next.
Yeah, look, he's made an impact. DFW, everywhere he's been, he relates to coaches, he relates to players, he relates to parents, man. It's just an instant buy-in when he comes around. He's just one of those guys. Like I said, I'm close to calling him an ace recruiter, right? But he's great at relationships. And you know how we spell it around here is REAL, real relationships. He does a great job of building those, and he's not a person he cannot connect with, right? He's such a humble, just a humble guy. right? Nothing's too bigger than the program type of guy. Like, he's like, I'm a real person. You can relate to me. I can coach you up. We can talk about life. We can talk about your future, the whole nine. And he just does a great job of relating. And people recognize real, honestly. And that's what he's all about.
We'll keep going. Lamar Brown is going to be somebody that obviously LSU is going to be involved with. I think he just got back from Miami and spoke with the Hurricanes and Mario Cristobal. I wonder what position Mario Cristobal wants a 6'5.5" or 6'4", 285-pound guy.
Can you imagine him and Jackson Cantwell as your bookend tackles?
If there's a school
that would make Bernie Kosar come back.
Yeah,
Kelly.
Or Vinny Testaverde too.
Yeah.
And he's pretty impressive. He's the number on three has him number 18, number 7 in industry ranking. There's a service that has him as the number 1 overall player in the country in 2026, but everybody's got him as a top 5 prospect. And hey, Texas, we used to get happy just to be like, oh, this guy's over here.
Right.
Now it's like, okay, let's see if Texas can get in on him. Next big position to go over, running back. I think that's been the position we may have talked about most, aside from offensive tackle on this channel. And coming in this weekend for Texas, we had KJ Edwards on the list, I think, but we've moved him. He's going to be on June 22nd. So that means, Justin, that Chad Scott's going to spend a lot of one-on-one time with Xavier Crowell from Jackson, Alabama.
Yeah, so I think right now the way Texas is kind of looking at the running back position, they feel very confident with KJ Edwards. And I want to say that's probably why they moved his to the last weekend in the month. They feel great about him. Now they're trying to figure out the other one. They want 2 in this cycle. So they're trying to figure out who's going to be the other guy that jumps in. Is it Xavier Crowell, Derek Cooper, Amari Latimer, Carson Baker? There's plenty of guys out there that are in the conversation. With Crowell, I felt like we've said this more than any other player. This kid is probably going to stay in state. Like there's a strong sense he's going to stay in state and probably go to Alabama or Auburn. Most likely Alabama. That's not stopping Texas. They don't care. They will recruit through the whistle. They're going to bring him in for the OV. They're going to set the table. They'll discuss NIL at the end of the visit, and they will continue that relationship regardless of. I think Crowell has a commitment date in late June, later this month. And I think the consensus right now is Alabama. That's not going to stop Texas from recruiting him. Crowell is special. Like this is the reclassified guy that looks like he belongs in this cycle. And so they're going to keep recruiting him. They're looking for that number 2 running back. They love where they're at with KJ Edwards. They're going to shoot their shot again with one of these top tailbacks in Xavier Crowell.
Charlie, something on 3 not too long ago, Charles Power wrote this, and I thought it made a lot of sense. There's not a big hit rate with guys who reclassify, and it's for a lot of different reasons. With the NIL world, a lot of prospects want to get to campus as soon as possible if they're in a state where they maybe can't earn in high school. We all remember the Quinn Ewers recruitment. But at some points, some of these guys are seemingly physically developed enough to be able to handle it, and it kind of seems like Crowell fits that bill.
Yeah, him and just a few others, right? Like you said, a lot of them are not physically mature and ready to reclassify. But Crowell's another kid who he looks like it. You just never know. Some of these kids, maybe they get held back at a younger age. You just never know. Like, they can reclassify. They look the part. He runs through pretty much everybody in his division that he plays against. So, I feel like he's ready. He's one of the few that's actually ready to reclassify and play early once he gets to college. I mean, like I said, you just don't see it much because they're just not physically mature. You just haven't played enough football. Your body hasn't matured yet, right? You can see their frame, right? You can see if they still haven't hit that maturity or that growth after freshman year of high school, right? Some of them still you need that extra year of just growing. And Crowell he's surpassed that already, right? He's just physically ready. He's just good old Southern Eden, man. He's just one of those guys that is built by grandma's cornbread and red beans, man. Honestly, that's what Crowell reminds me of.
Yeah, we forget that these are teenagers and crazy things happen to teenagers' bodies. They grow, they get bigger at varying junctures. There's a prospect that was here in Austin from the 2027 class. So it means he's about to be a junior in high school. His on-3 profile had him at like 6'1", 180, and now he's 6'2", 215 and got an offer from Texas. Like, things can change pretty quickly, especially for someone like Crowell, who you look at his tape and you see like, okay, he's got it. And then maybe there's another developmental step for him as well. Anything else on running back before we go back to the trenches? And to do so, head on a plane to the Big Island. No, not the Big Island, but I think it's Oahu. Whatever. Either way, we got to talk, Justin, a little bit about Malachi Lee, and I got to put the film on stage for this one. There's been a lot made about what Texas could do in state at offensive line during this cycle, but that hasn't prevented Kyle Flood from going far and wide. We posted the picture of him going to Malachi Lee's school, and Texas is going to get their opportunity to talk to the Big Hawaiian.
Yeah, so the Longhorns have done a tremendous job on the offensive line position in this cycle, and of course it's Kyle Flood. Like he's a machine at this point. I think Brian Swanson told me he was the GOAT on Sunday after elite camp. Like that's kind of how they look at him. Malachi Lee, like he's a take all day, all night. He is. I mean, honestly, he's an easy eval. Big guy, hurt little guy, go. Like he's 6'7", guys. Like he is massive. Kyle Flood went to his house, went to his school to see this kid, and it wasn't just for the vacation. It was to get to know this kid. And look, they if there was no John Turntine and Felix Ojo in this cycle, I think Malachi Lee might be the top tackle on Texas big board. Like honestly. He's that good, and I know they like him that much. But this is a cycle where the Horns, and we had talked about this for over a year, don't have to drive too far from campus to put this O-line class together. A lot of it's going to start in DFW, end in the 5-1-2. And so you're still going to shoot your shot, like we continue to say. You're still going to – this is a guy that, say you get Ojo and you get Turntine, and you've got probably the number one offensive haul in the country, and Lee becomes available, you get him. You take him, no holds barred. You don't even think about it. That's how special he is. He's also got an official to Alabama. He's got a couple other – he's got some of the biggest schools in the country after him. I kind of get a Bama vibe there, but I can't wait to see what he says after the Texas trip because I know that he knows Leona LaFau well, and I know those guys talk. And that right there, I think, has allowed Texas to go even further into Hawaii and get to become more entrenched with those coaches and with those sources and get to know those guys a little bit better. I'm a huge Malachi Lee fan. I just don't know if this is the right cycle for him to be in the Texas class.
One of the things about official visits is that they're great for collecting data. Whenever you get some data, you can make some decisions off of it. Charlie, we know that Zayden Krempin, someone who Texas is big on, visited LSU. Felix Ojo just made a Ohio State visit. Where Turntine did he? Stanford. So a lot of these different prospects are going all over the place. But at the same time, none of those guys have committed. I don't think we ever expected any of those guys to commit. And it's still Texas probably has an idea of what went on those official visits for those other targets.
Yeah, look, every school is making their last-ditch effort pitch on why you should come play for him. Hey, they have to spend all this time getting to know these kids, what they like, what they don't like, what their future endeavors are as far as what they want to major in, the whole nine. Spend time learning the parents, the brothers, even down to the little brothers. And so it's like everything there is to know about a kid so that you can have your best pitch and best foot forward when hosting these guys on official visits. So I'm sure Texas knows what's out there. Everybody knows somebody in this profession or in this world. It's a very small knit community in football. And so, they have a good idea of what maybe Stanford may sell or Ohio State selling, right? Hey, well, of course, we just beat Texas, right? Why would you not come here? You can be developed. I'm sure they're selling all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, man, kids go and families go to get good information to find out, do I really want to be here, right? Hanging around the other recruits and hanging around current players will tell you a lot about if I really do I fit in with this group here? Do I see myself thriving? I like Texas having later visits for some of these guys, right? Because now they get a chance to go out and see other schools. And really, you're comparing to Texas because they've been on campus so many times. Everything's a comparison to what Texas is, right? And so I think I can't wait till they get to official visits to Texas because they have something to compare it against and kind of go from there.
Last guy we need to talk about, someone have seen in person, Justin, that is Jaraylen McCoy out of Tupelo, Mississippi, someone who the Longhorns have recruited real hard. You got Kenny Baker there making an impact in that recruitment. But this is going to be a big weekend to see if Texas can, I don't want to say make up ground because that kind of indicates trailing, but can throw a similarly strong punch to what Florida did over the weekend.
Yes, this is a Texas-Florida recruitment at this stage. I know LSU is still back in the weeds a little bit, but when he decommitted from them, I don't think he's going back to LSU. It's going to be Florida, Texas. When I left Tupelo, I had the sense that Florida was ahead by a hair. I felt like they had started the relationship a year and a half before Texas did. So I feel like they were up a hair just because they had a head start. Now, he just and then of course that post OV buzz, you know how much kids love when they come off campus. It's only natural. You've just been doted on for 2 days and been given a bunch of food and clothes. And your parents are probably full as well. Jaraylon McCoy is going to come down to Texas and Florida. He's got a decision on July 1st. Look, this is a Alan Clark recruitment. 100%. Yes, Kenny Baker has been helping out in this regard, but this is a Alan Clark recruitment. I was actually talking to somebody close to him last night, and he was saying he has done so well in setting up all these guys. Now he just has to close them. This is getting closer to that time where it's like, all right, it's time to shut these things down. And so I think Clark is going to be huge. He recruited Jaraylon while he was at Ohio State. He'd already kind of built that previous relationship. That helped out. Jaraylon took an unofficial visit to Austin in April by himself. He got on a plane, flew in by himself, did everything himself. When I talked to his dad said, man, my son's a grown man. He can go and travel and do all these things. He's capable of doing that. His parents weren't able to travel at the time. He has a father that has some health issues. And so the travel can be a little bit constraining for that group. And so I know how important it's going to be for him and his mom and his dad to see Austin, to see Texas. Like that to me is going to be as important as Jaraylon coming back. Like if mom and dad are clicking with Sark and those guys, this thing turns it up a notch. And so we know how much Texas wants him. And this kid could potentially be special. He's every bit of 6'5", 6'7", 250 pounds. He's been playing varsity football since he was in 8th grade. He was a star since he's been a freshman. And he's got 40-something offers to boot. And so they've got to wash off the gator and then kind of churn in the burnt orange this weekend. That's what their goal is going to be. And I'm going to tell you what, I think he has one more visit after this Texas visit. I think he's hitting LSU on one of the final weekends in June before he makes his decision. But I'm telling you, after this OV, that 3-week window between this weekend and July 1st is going to tell the tale of Jaraylon McCoy where he goes. And because I think once he commits this next time, this is going to be the final commitment. I think he's going to shut it down. The parents don't want to deal with recruiting during the season. I get the sense the family wants him to find a spot that he's comfortable with. Right. So in the future, they know he's in safe hands while he's there. And so I'm really, out of all the guys, this is the one I'm watching the closest. Because I think Texas can swing this kid. I think they have his full attention. If anything, there are other guys. Colin Simmons has started to help out a little bit. Like he got to know Ethan Burke. He got to know some of those guys on campus, watching them in the scrimmage. Let that relationship start to kind of bud and carry over. This is a big weekend. Out of all the guys we're seeing, and there's a lot of important guys coming in, Jaraylon McCoy might be the most important.
We've got a lot of guys on our list over on Inside Texas. I know we're going to get an updated one this week. Just a good question from Jason Perez. How's Texas doing at running back and wide receiver in this class? We just kind of went over running back. KJ Edwards, Xavier Crowell, Derek Cooper, Amari Latimer. Those are the big names to know. They're in better shape with KJ Edwards than anybody else. They're fighting with Alabama and Auburn for Xavier Crowell. They're fighting Miami and maybe even Florida, I think, for Derek Cooper. Tough battles for top prospects. It is what happens. Wide receiver, Justin, they've got Chris Stewart committed, who, likes being committed to Texas.
He's getting better. Hey, listen, we have got to stop. People have got to stop sleeping on that kid. He is dominating in 7-on-7. I know it's 7-on-7. I don't care. He's out there competing every weekend, and he's killing it.
And then looking around at wide receiver, there are a lot of big names. A lot of them have committed already. There's some big names in Texas that Texas really hasn't gone in on. But right now, you can look at alongside Stewart, It feels like Jalen Lott, even though he's an athlete, is starting to be part of the wide receiver equation. And then the big battle is going to be for Caden Finley.
Yeah, don't be surprised now. They went hunting for some big guys out of state at wide receiver, and they're going to do that every cycle. Chris Jackson is going to do that. Don't be surprised if the 2026 haul stays a little closer to home, if they decide to keep guys in state in this cycle and then maybe go big game hunting in 2027. And I mean that because Caden Finley remains number one on the big board. He popped into Notre Dame yesterday. Notre Dame is so worried about Texas. They are getting him in early before his official visit to South Bend. So they know what they're battling right there. Yeah. And so Caden Finley, don't be surprised there. You mentioned Jalen Lott. Look, Cohen Brown out of Waxahachie picked up an offer a week and a half ago. He's a guy you need to pay attention to. Listen, Aljur Miles blew Jackson away. Like, Texas absolutely loved that kid at Crandall. He committed to SMU probably 3 or 4 days after he got that Texas offer. But they feel like if they push, they could potentially flip him if they needed to. Jaden Warren, another one I believe is out of Iowa Colony. He's a big one. That's another one Notre Dame has started to fall in love with and really likes. And so, and like you mentioned, Lott, Jermaine Bishop can play on either side. We think he's going to be a corner, though. Don't be surprised. Look, they love Aaron Gregory. Let's get him on campus June 13th to the 15th, and then we can kind of figure out where the clarity is in that recruitment. But don't be surprised, Jason, if they stay in state when it comes to the wide receiver haul in 26.
Charlie, we didn't mention Cohen Brown's supposed to be coming in for an official visit, I believe, this weekend. Right, Justin? Does that sound right? From Waxahachie.
This weekend or is it next?
It's tentative. I'm pretty sure you confirmed it, but I want to.
No, yeah, he confirmed it, but I can't remember if it was this weekend or next weekend. We need to look.
We'll figure that out before we go in depth on him. And but that's another in-state prospect that they're checking out. Before we dive into some of the big names from the junior to B class that made it to Texas, a word from Roback. There's only one way to describe Roback: best fit, best feel. For those who aren't familiar with Roback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Roback has released so many items within their new licensed game day collection, and it's our favorite. With novel polo designs and clean hoodie and Q designs from some of your favorite schools like Texas, is definitely worth checking out. Nobody else on the market is pairing these level of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Roback's everyday shorts or their Delta Performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. Both are super comfortable, have an elastic waistband, and great fabric that's made to have the appearance of a nice short look, but the comfort for a day on the move. Roback has also been proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars like Quinn Ewers. They are becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. Use the code TEXAS20 on roback.com for a generous 20% off for all new customers through the end of this week. That's RHOBACK.com and 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with Texas20. Texas had a camp this past weekend. Good opportunity for 2027, 2028 guys to come in and see the Longhorns. Charlie, I know you talked Monday with Homer about kind of what happens and what the dynamic is for campers. You know, you can get offers, but sometimes they still want to see you come in. You can earn offers there, but it's also a good chance to see some guys that they know very well. One of those guys that they know very well, Charlie, is John Meredith. I'm going to be pounding the drum that this could be the number one overall recruit in the 2027 class. And he got the chance to build more quality time with Mark Orfe and the rest of the Longhorn coaches. Yeah,
definitely. Look, Meredith is the number one player in the country. Like, I know he's almost 6'3", but he moves like a guy maybe 5'10" and a half, 5'11". Like, he's so he's an excellent corner, man. He's an excellent DB. I'm talking about good feet, hips, twitchy, ball skills, whatever you want him to do, he can be that. Like, you know, they don't build corners like John Meredith often, and man, he's a special kid, man. I had a chance to see him when I went by Euless, I want to say a few weeks ago, just kind of see him in some off-season training. I mean, he's first in everything. The movement, like everything you want is there. I know he puts in a ton of work in training, right? He feels like he has a long way to go, but that's a dedicated kid that wants to be the number one corner and let it be known he's number one corner in the nation. He's working towards that. But the fact he got on campus, got to spend some time with Coach Orfe, Coach Akina. I know he talked about that a few weeks ago. He couldn't wait to kind of build a relationship with those guys and, you know, see how it goes and goes from there. But, man, I know he's fond of Texas, right? Especially with Coach Akina coming back. You know, hey, that brought DBU. He wants to be somewhere like that who can help him develop and further his skills. And so Meredith is an excellent kid, excellent size. I know, Justin, you got a chance to see him in person, man. Like, it just don't make him like that quite often.
He has NFL corner size today as a 17-year-old. Like, he looks fantastic. And he didn't have to compete. You know what that tells me? Texas loves him. He didn't even have to get wet in the pool. That's how important John Meredith is. Look, I'm going to stand on a box. I'm with you guys. I think he's the number one defensive talent in the state for 2027. I think he's the number one corner in the country. I like Kennedy Brown on offense, so I got to split those guys. I got to split the baby. I'm sorry. But, yeah, John Meredith, he's a no-brainer. Texas is in the top 3. It's Texas, Penn State. And he said Oregon, Alabama, and I believe he said Georgia are the 3 – or no, USC are the 3 that are battling for his 3rd spot in his top 3, which all you need to know is it's Texas and Penn State and everybody else. And we had some questions in Inside Texas about Penn State. Look, they just recruit Texas early. They come in and build an early relationship. They've had success in the last few years, especially last year's playoff. And so they're building off that momentum. But this kid's going somewhere, either Texas, he's going to be visiting Oregon in 2 weeks, Alabama, USC, Georgia. Those are all in the mix. This is going to be a long recruitment. The Horns are in tremendous shape.
Yeah.
What a fun, the big name, the name that I think if you're into 2027 recruiting, you know a little bit about. That's Gunnar Rivers. That's Philip Rivers' son, Fairhope, Alabama, around Mobile Bay, St. Michael's Catholic. His dad is Philip Rivers. His head coach is Philip Rivers. His quarterback trainer, probably Philip Rivers. His ride to Texas was Philip Rivers. Justin, you got to talk to Gunnar. Texas is very, very slow, judicious, careful, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
With quarterback offers. Doesn't seem as if Gunnar got an offer, but he still had his visit to Texas over the weekend. What'd you get from talking to him?
Yeah, getting Gunnar on campus was a big deal. His recruitment's pretty quiet just because him and his father aren't big on social media. They're not big about blasting offers and showing videos and clips of what they just go to work. And his dad could not have been nicer. You know, he was tremendous letting us talk to Gunnar. You could tell this is new to Gunnar. You could tell he's not used to being in a group of people doing interviews, and so he picked his words carefully. And I expect nothing less from a son of a professional, 8-time Pro Bowl quarterback. I'd had a couple players tell me Gunnar looked incredible. He looked great. He uses different arm angles. He can go off platform. He's a big kid. He looked great. Had a couple other guys say he made a few mistakes. Either way, I think Texas really liked what they saw. But like you said, Joe, they are very cautious with who they offer. And basically, I think they told him, look, we are tremendously interested in you. We're going to continue to recruit you. We want to see you again. They'll be back out there during the season. They want him in Austin for a game this fall. He said he wants to do that. This is going to be a recruitment that kind of takes its time and plays out a little bit. I don't think there's a leader here. I think it's kind of still new to him. NC State's going to be in the mix, obviously, because that's where his dad went. But he's got visits to Alabama. He's got a visit to Auburn. He's got a visit to Georgia. He's going to see those places in the next month as well. And then we're going to start more news and reports will come out, and we'll start getting a better sense of kind of where he's at. We know Texas likes him. They're going to continue recruiting. But, again, they only offer a handful of quarterbacks every cycle. That is something we're monitoring right now.
Charlie, next guy to talk about from in-state. We've already talked a little bit about some Waxahachie guys. Got to talk about Jaquan Snell, though. Top athlete, probably a defensive back at the next level. Texas has been involved in this recruitment probably for a year or so now. They've not let this one slip through the cracks. And what'd you get from Snell's visit to Texas over the weekend?
Well, you know what? I think this may be Snell's 3rd time back in Austin. Look, that's a tremendous
3rd time this year.
3rd time this year, yeah, that's huge, right? I know he's being recruited by Blake Gideon before he left and things like that, but he's had a great relationship building it with Coach Akina and Coach Orfe. Man, look, Jaquan Snell, family full of athletes, but he might be the best. I don't know. He may be closer to 6'3" now. He's talking about speed, rangy, a physical kid who would come downhill and smack you. Can play.
Charlie, is that Kennedy Snell? Is he related?
It is.
The Waxahachie little scat back that went to TCU?
Yep. Yep, that's his brother.
I just put those two together. He played with Jalen Rager.
Yeah.
I just put those two together. Jaquan is like 9 inches taller than Kennedy Snell.
Yes.
So in the gene athlete family, he got all of it. Jaquan is beautiful.
They got a baby brother who's going to probably be an offensive tackle. All he's here. So they got another one coming through the pipeline. But it just talks about the talent they have in their family and in the gene pool. Has a former coach who played at Texas, and Darius Terrell. Like, Texas has been quietly a school that's been recruiting for a while, and he's kind of fond of Texas, right? He sees the development happening on the 40 acres. He sees DBU. He sees the guys getting drafted. He wants to be next, right, and fall in line in that. And so Jaquan Snell's an excellent safety. I put him at safety, but he has some man coverage ability as well. I think he's just a rare breed. I think that's why he's listed as number 1 safety in 2027 class for a reason.
Him and John Meredith, if you put them side by side each other and you say, hey, I'm getting him at a corner and him at a safety, you're ecstatic in that class no matter who else is coming in. Right. They're get off the bus looking beautiful type guys. They just feel it. Some guys are always going to have to grow a little bit, always going to have to develop a little bit. These two may come in and make an impact early. That's how big, athletic, and confident they are.
Yeah. And they both play receiver too early in their careers. So they got great ball skills. That's what sets them apart.
Jaquan was really good at receiver his freshman year, if I remember correctly.
He was.
Last guy to talk about, we've been going over all the 2027 big guys who made it through. We've all three written stuff on Inside Texas about some of the big offers at wide receiver and defensive back. But got to talk about Julian Caldwell. He made his way to Texas. He had an offer, and I got to talk to him. He left in a polo that you kind of buy if you're already into the Longhorns. And he said Texas was his dream school. And I know that scares people. Well, this is a different Texas. They're a school worth dreaming about a little bit more than they were about this time 10 years ago. But, this, Justin, looks like you were talking about the in-state shape at wide receiver is kind of coming into focus. And Caldwell looks like someone that is going to be involved with Texas in his recruitment for basically the rest of the way, all the way up to when he puts pen to paper.
That's kind of how we see it. He's probably going to be the top-rated receiver in the state when the rankings become more finalized and less fluid. Him and Bryson Thor Jr., I think that's another one that has to be in the discussion. But look, Julian Caldwell is one of those. They saw him in the spring and offered him instantly. Like he jumped off the page and he's been tremendous. And you talk to him, Joe, this kid loves Texas. That offer hit differently than others. And we see that in kids, not all of them, but in a lot of them in state. Once Texas offers, it's a different vibe to them. It's a different strut when they walk into school the next day. There's just something to it. And so I think Jackson absolutely loves him. I think Texas has set the floor there perfectly. Now they just have to sort of ride the wave. And this is another one. There's some really good other receivers. Tay Ellis is another one. I believe out of Fort Worth. There's some really good receivers in 2027. Julian Caldwell will be the lead. Receiver can be a little dramatic, can be a little diva-ish. Caldwell is the opposite of that. If you've ever talked to that kid, he doesn't have a vein bone in his body. He is very humble, and I think that is so endearing to Texas right now because of the culture they are building, especially in that wide receiver room.
I think his dad is a personal trainer in the DFW area too, so that there's a work ethic that's required in that household in order to eat breakfast, I guess to say. That's and one thing I noticed of some of the offers that they threw out, whether that's Caldwell, whether that's the thrower.
Alvin,
I was relying on you.
Alvin Mosley.
There we go.
Starling, not a Starling.
They're not 5'10", like they're 6'1".
Yeah.
Like Eric always jokes, like, I'm glad I'm 6 foot so I can tell if you're lying to me. I'm 6'1", and I can tell if what you're saying. And they're right here, like eye level wise. So like, it's interesting to see Texas maybe go for a little bit more height. Speed's always going to come first for Steve Sarkisian, but you'd like to pair it as best you can with some height. And they're looking at some guys who are about 6'1", 6 foot. Like, They may be the flat foot 5'11" and 3/4, but like with cleats on, they're going to be hitting the 6 foot range.
Yeah.
What did you eyeball Caldwell at?
He's about the same height as I am. He's just under.
I thought he might be 6'2", but I wasn't sure because I didn't get to see him.
Right. And
because he looks it, because he's kind of long and slender, but he's not too skinny. He's actually got a great frame for his size and his age.
And who knows? The other thing is some of these kids with the pool party, they're wearing flip flops instead of their normal running shoes or stuff like that. So that and I try to take that into account, but
sometimes the Crocs are the running shoes, unfortunately.
Oh man.
My kid goes outside wearing Crocs to go play basketball. I lose my mind.
Well, as long as he's got the speed option on instead of the comfort option.
That's it.
No. Athletes, wear shoes when you compete. Wear Crocs when you get out the shower.
Good advice. We'll end it there. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. We'll have a bunch of recruiting info over the course of the next month as recruitments heat up, official visits happen, of course, as commitments start to roll in. And head to InsideTexas.com. We'll have all the latest intel on everything there on the website. So, Justin, thank you. Charlie, thank you. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.